What's going on, SSBL peeps? Welcome to episode 13 and the first full-fledged
Welcome
postseason.
to the postseason. Woo!
Our first full-on postseason episode. Obviously, we talked about postseason last episode, but now we are officially the postseason is officially here. We're one round in, and nobody has a perfect bracket.
Nobody has a perfect bracket.
Nobody
Everyone's
has
bracket
a perfect
is
bracket.
busted.
Either someone chose the Bombers or someone chose the wrong Fielders, and well, they're both out. They're both out. So we do have some that are pretty set still. But there's a lot of people, their brackets are busted because a lot of people chose the Bombers to win the whole thing. So there you go. There you have it. There was one person who chose the wrong Fielders, and they have the worst one out of all of them. So there's that. So we'll go ahead and move right into it, and we'll kind of recap what we witnessed this past week. And we'll go by series, right? So we'll start with our first series here, and
The only one that went to 3
is the only one that went to 3. Gaucho's wrong Fielders. And I was watching this series, man, and that first game when the wrong Fielders win, I'm just like, I think they're gonna do it. And then game 2 comes around, and what happens?
You remember they're playing the Gauchos.
They get demolished. What, 8
8-2.
to 2.
And then that final, there were some decent parts of that game that I thought the Wrongfielders were really about to go and face the Lumberjacks.
Yeah.
But I think, to be honest, this is the magic wearing off for the Wrongfielders and reality setting in for the Gauchos, because this is the Gaucho squad that was sitting at 10-3 and should have won their division, lost 4 straight games, and didn't end up winning their division. And this was reality saying, "Hey guys, by the way, the Gauchos are on paper potentially the best squad in the Heroic, and we need to remember that."
Yeah, and I think they're going to carry that momentum into this series, and I think we're going to see a lot more game 3s this time around. Gaucho series being one of them, but we'll get there into the next segment. But this matchup, man, I mean, me personally, I wanted the wrong Fielders to advance. I didn't have them advancing in my bracket, but I did want them to advance. Actually, I did have them advancing in my bracket.
I think the only other people that wanted the Wrongfielders to advance more than you was probably DDC and No Hummus. They were very much like they do not want to face the Gauchos. In fact, in their team channel, they posted their lineup, which I need to do for me. But it says lineup rotation for Bloodbath series versus Gauchos, and like here's the thing: is that I think the series, when we'll talk about the series after we talk about all of the wildcard recaps, but like, is there a more highly anticipated series in the divisional round? Like, I'm not saying that like Stingers ball players aren't a good matchup. I'm not saying that Unicorns Wildcats are not a good matchup, but like, Lumberjacks Gauchos feels like a conference final.
It feels like Boston versus New York. We got Red Sox Yankees. Like, this is, like they said in their roster submission, this is a bloodbath. Like Curt Schilling bloody ankle type shit. Like, this is what we got here in this matchup. Like, it's gonna be insane. I'm looking forward to. I'm going to get into this later when we talk about this series, but man, that the wrong Fielders just kind of collapse, man. They just kind of had that collapse.
If we can put a bow on the Wrongfielder season, when Lasers took over in season 6. They went 4-10. They went 1-13. And this season, they were 2 innings away from winning a division with the Gauchos and the Dragons. And I honestly, I think a lot of it has to do with the drafting of Lasers. I think that the draft, Lasers always drafts players I would never draft in that position. And like, I usually would mean that in a bad way, but clearly it is working out phenomenally. And also even the trades, like, I still think that like what does this team look like with Hank Murphy, right? Like there's some of those what ifs, but
Right.
you look at that pitching core, you look at Boomer Lasers batting over 400,
Mm-hmm.
Pedro Cruz, like Lasers, I think Lasers and Squared are two peas in a pod when it comes to taking over teams and having to go through utter tragedy in
Yep.
order to develop something, and especially for Lasers, the wrong fielders, because like when Square took over the Stingers, right? Like they had never made postseason until season 7. Like this was a bad team. Whereas to the wrong fielders, they won it all
Yeah.
back in season 1, and so there's a little bit of a history there. 7-7 winning the Super Series, 10-4. They had that 1-3-11 season, but then they went 9-5 in season 4. Like this is a squad that, I mean, you think about them in the same vein of the Walkers, where like the first 4 seasons they had like one bad season, but they were really like top of the card, and they've just fallen down as of late.
Mhm.
And the wrong fielders under the leadership of Lasers has finally turned that gap. And I think especially looking forward in this division, I don't know that we're as solid saying that the Gauchos are going to win it every single season anymore, given one, what we've seen the Dragons do, but also just given that young core of the wrong fielders, that's only going to get better.
Yeah. So Professor Fysak, wrong fielders, their grade this season. Where do
I
you give
am
them?
going to give the wrong fielders an A minus.
A
I
minus.
think that Whitney was the only one kind of giving them credence going into the postseason. We'll have to do maybe that's what we'll do conference finals week, is we'll do grades for everybody else
Yeah.
and
I'm
that
so
didn't
down
make it,
for it.
because we'll only have 2 matchups to cover and
Yeah.
then
I'm
postseason.
I'm
So we'll,
so
we'll we'll plan the grading for
yeah.
that, so
So
that way I can be better
but
prepared.
now
But I would
we've
give
been
him an A minus.
ingrained.
Just
We have it ingrained in everyone's mind that grades are coming out from Professor Fysak, and I'll even make some nice graphics and get you a full on.
great. All right, I'll have to actually prepare that. But I think I'll be able to wing it for today.
Yeah, no, you're
A
good.
minus for the wrong feelers. I think they greatly exceeded expectations. I think the only way they could have gotten a better grade is if they actually won the division, which again they were literally an inning away from winning it. If it wasn't from Pedro Cruz sliding, as you and I talked about, if
Right.
Pedro Cruz doesn't slide there, uh, or one, if he makes the grab,
If
Dragons don't score that inning.
right.
Two, if he just stops it, only 1 run scores, and potentially the wrong fielders are going to be able to bounce back. So I think it was a phenomenal season for the wrong fielders, and it's going to be scary to face them in the future.
And I'm only gonna ask you for the grade for the wrong fielders, and I only ask because they went 1-13 last season. So to
Yeah.
turn it around, go 11-7. Uh, it was just probably the one of the greatest turnarounds I think we have seen in the SSBL. If I'm looking at all these other records, I mean, Retrievers went 3-11 last season, so there's another one for you to look at. But like Wildcats as well, 3-11 now. Like so, there are so many teams this season that have just completely turned it around. I don't know if this is the pitching. Like, is this the pitching patch that has really helped these teams turning it
It's a
around?
pitch and pass.
It's
Well,
the
the
pitch.
pitcher's pitch.
Is it the patch that helped it, or is it just these, like you said, like Lasers and his farm
I
system?
think you look at the way he drafts with like traits in mind. I think that it is him drafting. To be honest, I think
Mhm.
that's where it comes from.
Yeah, no, for sure. So moving on to a series that now leads to the Dragons. Winner here advances to the Dragons, and it's a rematch of the Heroic Icons Championship. These two teams, Retrievers, Overdrafts. Overdrafts have not beat the Retrievers all season.
The Overdrafts swept the Retrievers in season 7, and the Retrievers returned the favor. Except it wasn't a 2-game sweep; it was a 5-game sweep. 2 times in the regular season, once in the divisional game, and then twice
Yep.
in the postseason. It's
5-0.
just the overdrafts just do not know how to play the Retrievers. I mean, you look at the overdrafts finish the season 10-10.
Mhm.
They are 10-5 when not playing the Retrievers. Like that's the difference between a good team and a mediocre team.
Right.
Is the overdrafts and the retrievers. And we were talking about this before. The overdrafts have now made they made the postseason for the first time in season 5, and they made it over the Dragons in a play-in game because I very much remember that season 5, and it haunts me even to this day. So they have made the postseason 3 times in 8 seasons, and they've made it 3 times in the past 4. Only, and they barely missed out last season as well. They're 0-6
Yeah.
in the postseason. They are the only team in the SSBL, aside from the expansion sides, to have never won a single game. A single game.
Yeah.
Like
No,
that's
wild.
crazy. That is a franchise that is destined for poverty conditions.
I mean, so my thing is like I was hoping. I mean, even from the beginning when the overdrafts were still the only season 1 team to never make postseason until obviously season 5. Up until then, I was like, I want them to make it. I want them to make it. They made it. And then ever since then, I'm like, I want them to win at least one game. They don't have to advance, just win one. And they still haven't. And we have to wait until like the end of 2022 to figure out if they actually do it upon the conclusion of season 9, which is insane.
Like 9 seasons to get a postseason win is, if
It's
you're
insane.
an overdrafts fan and you're not a former overdrafts manager, of which they've had many.
Right.
I think they've had they by far have had the most. They have had 5 managers in their history.
Yeah.
That might be a reason why.
Bankrupt. But now, I mean, also just while we're at it, props to the retrievers though. Like it's this retriever squad. They come in now facing the Dragons, but this is again, this is a retriever squad that all season we're like, who are they? Who are they? And they
are, and they finally have shown up.
Yeah.
And here's the thing is that like entering this series with the Dragons, retrievers and overdrafts both beat the Dragons this season. And so the retrievers, I think, have shown flashes of brilliance. They're still kind of recovering from the knock to their image, and they were in definitively the worst division in the SSBL, without a doubt. Without a doubt, the worst division. And they had to do a play-in game in order to win the division. And if they hadn't won that, they would have been facing the Vikings just to even get into the postseason. So I think that like the expectations are still mooted for them because of how high we had them entering in, but getting gutsy 2-1 wins in both games over your division rival, your biggest division rival at this point, beating them 5-0 in the season, I think it just does well. And Puppet and I have been talking, and we said whoever wins ours needs to go to the Super Series, and he says needs to win the Super Series. So I am not underestimating this retriever squad, and I think that they showed specifically that pitching prowess in this series, but they're gonna need those bats to get better if they want to make a deeper run.
Yeah, I mean, only putting up 4 runs in 2 games in the postseason isn't going to cut it long term. So it's it's definitely something they're gonna need those bats to wake up. Barry Bonds is gonna have to go Barry Bonds.
They do get Trace McSorley back, so they will have Trace McSorley back into the lineup.
I was actually gonna ask when Trace McSorley will return, so that will help a lot. But you mentioned how you talking about, with Puppet, whoever wins your series needs to win the Super Series. I'm going to go ahead and say whoever wins a heroic needs to win the Super Series, because they haven't won the dang Super Series since the Lumberjacks in season 4. So what I'm saying is a heroic needs
Bombers,
to win.
High Rollers.
And whoever wins this season, it's got a heroic needs to step it up in the Super Series. But we'll save that for a future podcast to really dive deep into.
Which, to be fair, there have been 3 heroic winners and 4 epic winners, if you consider the Rom Fielders heroic, even though there were no conferences in season 1.
Right.
Just say.
No, you're exactly right.
As of late, it's been poo-poo, both in the All-Star game and in the Super Series. I'll give you that.
No, definitely. But we'll move on to a series the next 2 series. Obviously, we're going to the Epic Conference. It's the 2 series that will define fate. or helped define fate. And we'll start with the Stingers and Serpents. And this one, Serpents got on top really early, which I think this was the funniest part, because you mentioned in the cast, like the past few casts that you and Whitney have done together, there's been like a foul ball that was like, it was like an absolute bomb, but it was foul like numerous times, and the whole shut up Whitney and shut up Five Sacks and all that stuff. The fact that Yeti Olsen started the game off with an absolute bomb but in foul territory, and like I was just like, this is early Serpents. If they even make the same amount of contact, this is going to be a long one. They get up 2-0, and then all of a sudden here comes the Stingers fighting back, and who was it that hit the go ahead home run, or was it a go ahead home run? Wasn't it Kennedy?
It may have been. I'll be honest. My brain is absolute mush.
No, you're fine.
But like
SSBL. It's what we do.
This was my expectations for the Serpents. When we were talking about Serpents, High Rollers, Bombers, who doesn't make it in, I thought the Serpents were going to be the ones that weren't going to make it in, and it really is down to like they have good pieces.
Mm-hmm.
They've got the Big Four, right? Like they've got some really good bats. They've got some really good pitching. I don't think their pitching is as good as it's been in the past.
No.
But they don't have a cohesive unit. I don't think anyone is scared when they face the Serpents. And I think that kind of came to fruition this series, where it was the Serpents have history with them. Like it's always traditionally been that the Serpents bullshit, right? Like when I entered the season in season 4, all anyone talked about was Serpents bullshit and how the Serpents don't deserve anything. And I think the Serpents deserve what they've gotten, to be honest. I know that they've had some things go the way, like making the postseason when they go 6-8. And if you look at this was actually their best season win-wise in their history. And the only other season where they had a better win rate in the regular season was season 2. So they've always kind of been a team that just overperforms in the postseason and kind of is neutral in the regular season. And I think that it kind of shows how this organization does have some. I just don't know if they have enough in them to go all the way as of right now. I think that they're just missing something.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is, but it would take like a High Rollers run, right? Where the High Rollers last season weren't an amazing squad, but they won the games that they needed to, and they won a Super Series, and they had enough decency to put it up in the Super Series.
Right.
And I think that's kind of the case of the Serpents too, where it's gonna be more luck than it is skill for them to advance further in future seasons.
Yeah, no, I agree with you on that. I think when, as you mentioned, like no one is really scared to face the Serpents, but I think they're only scared because of the speed. If there is any fear, it's because they are one of the fastest, if not the fastest team in all of the SSBL. And I know you even talked about it on commentary. It's like the Serpent speed is showing up. Like they have such a fast squad. So any team who with a poor arms in the outfield or poor arms behind the plate are going to get eaten alive. But that's really like you said, like that's the only fear that might be like the only fear that they truly have, because no one's truly scared to face the Serpents. But they do have the speed. They're just like you said, there's something missing, and we can't really put. Do they need another like star pitcher to really, or is there some like utility player that like, what is it that they need to get
I think it's in the pitching for them. I think that it's not, when you look at the rotations, and this is coming from someone who has like a decent rotation, but they're some obvious weak points. But like I purposely build that into my lineup because of how I'm always trying to win every season and I never want to tank. And so that's part of the reason why I have weaknesses in that order, is because I'm always sort of building for the future. I just don't know what they have coming up. I can like pull up their ratings to see if they have any young pitchers coming up, but it just feels like there's just not fully solid. And again, all this is with them having the best regular season record they've ever had. So it's a little funny in that regard. They have is Strongman the one that's 188? Yeah, they don't. They have JT Mullins. JT Mullins 210 season 7. So they have him coming up, and that might be the answer for them because that would then make all of their pitchers above 200. So maybe that'll be the next step for them to have postseason success.
Yeah, and we'll see what Dean does in the offseason with some trades. You never know what the Serpents will.
He always be trading.
You never know what he will do. That's the thing. You never know what he. I mean, he won the freaking Super Series in season 3, and I believe at that rate he got rid of like so many of his like major pieces of that championship team. So I mean, you never know with Dean. You never know who he's going to trade. I mean, McLarge might be gone by next season. Who freaking knows?
That's what, given Kaladin Stormblast coming up, that's what he was talking about, is shipping him off.
Well, that's. I mean, we'll save this for like a nice off-season preview episode of Jacked, but that's going to be a big trade for and a big win for whoever gets that guy. But we'll move to the final final wild card round before we get into our divisional predictions and overview. Bombers and Wildcats. Man, this one, kind of hurt a little bit. Like, to be honest, because of obviously for fate, right? Because fate was supposed to happen.
Yeah, it was fate doused us twice.
Yeah. So, there's that, but it's just like the Bombers came out flat. Like, it was a completely different Bombers squad in this postseason matchup. Like, game 1, it wasn't like, I don't know who that squad was, but it wasn't the Bombers. It had no Bombers feel to it.
And I think this just goes to show like how good the Epic was this season at the top end. Like, I'm not convinced that the Epic is better than the Heroic. I think that the Epic has some really, really good top teams and some really, really, really bad bottom teams. And that's how you have the High Rollers, who I was just doing this math in my head. The High Rollers are the only franchise in SSBL history to have never had a losing season. In the 5 seasons that they played, they have never had a losing season, and they didn't make postseason this season, which is just really unfortunate. But like, this is a Wildcats squad that is really good.
Yeah,
it's really good, and I think that we were all underestimating how good they really were, especially that pitching. Beef Boy, Auntie Jar. Like, it is, and like that has moved Polo Cologne and the others like lower into the rotation. That's how good this squad is.
Right.
And I just think this is what happens in a 3-game series. Who knows what can happen in a string of games, and the Bombers kind of reverted back to the way they were in the beginning of the season, where they just could not get a win to save their life.
Yeah, and they weren't really even close. These games were just like the Wildcats offense was just, and as you said, pitching, but like the Wildcats offense was just there. Like, it was doing what it did when it started the season, when they beat the Stingers 19-4. Like, it's this Wildcats team is, I think we're gonna get a very interesting matchup here in this next divisional round, with a nice rematch of the Unicorns, which I did mention before we went live here on this recording. The Epic is just is a battle of the top of 2 divisions. It's the Phenoms. The Phenoms on one side, or not Phenoms, the Novas on one side, and then you got the Galaxy on the other. The top 2 teams for both of them, and then it's going to be a Novas versus Galaxy Epic Conference Finals. Like, it's kind of crazy how that kind of worked out, where we literally going to get a Stingers ball players best of 3 series. We're going to get a Unicorns and Wildcats best of 3 series, which the Unicorns beat the Wildcats both times this season. Both times. And will the Wildcats bounce back? We can kind of go ahead and transition to we'll go ahead and start from the bottom and work our way up on our list here. We'll start with this matchup, Unicorns Wildcats. I mean, if Beef Boy does what he does, this is going to go 3. I'm going to go ahead and say this is going to go 3 games.
I think the question is that the Unicorns have been one of the best pitching teams this entire season.
Yeah.
You know what they've got a lot of? Good bats. or they haven't ranked the top of in the league, bats. I'm sorry, I just don't think that we go through this many games in a season for them to not have those bats light up at some point.
Yeah.
I think it's those bats are just a ticking time bomb, and I just really think the Unicorns are well set up here to make a bid for a Super Series. When I look at the Unicorns, the Wildcats, the Ball Players, and the Stingers, I'm scared of all of them. No, I'm the scared most of is the Unicorns.
Yeah.
I think that this is a squad that I just really like their chances in this series. They've already beaten the Wildcats twice. But that X factor is Beef Boy Antijar. You have two of the best pitchers in the SSBL as your 1-2 in a 3-game series. How much does that limit the Unicorns' bats as a result?
Right.
But I think the key is those Unicorns' bats. Are they finally going to light up? Because if they do, then that's been pretty much their only weakness this entire season.
Yeah, no, and I agree with you on that one. But I do think this matchup is going to go 3. I do think it's going to go 3. I do think the Unicorns though are gonna take it, and I think we're gonna get ourselves a really nice matchup in the Epic Conference Finals. And to be honest, I think the Unicorns can win this entire thing, and I think
it would be destiny delayed but not deferred. For the Unicorns, considering how good they were last season. They finished 11-4 last season, their first winning season since actually their first winning season since season 3 was last season when they went 11-4. And they lost out to the Super Series champions.
Yeah.
So I think that I honestly this probably will go 2 if I'm being brutally honest.
I mean, we had the S8 predictions. This was in January. And if I'm looking at it, we actually have who wins the Epic. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 of them said 8 out of 14 said the Unicorns.
Can you send me that sheet or send me that link?
Yeah,
I have access
if
to
if you're logged into the Gmail, it should
Yeah,
now
I
be
am.
at the top of the Google Sheets thing. But someone had it's Nick. Nick had Angels make he had the Angels win the Epic. But looking at these matchups, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people have Gaucho's Unicorns. 5 out of 14 have Gaucho's Unicorns.
I mean, I think that's a fair assessment.
And you are
given
one of them. And you are one of them. I'm one of them. We're both part of this Gaucho's Unicorns Super Series prediction.
Oh, you know what I just found? What's your hot take for season 8? There were 3 hot takes. Dean said that the Ball Players will stomp their division, which the Ball Players did win their division. Someone said both season 7 Super Series participants will miss the playoffs, so they were correct. Which is wild when you think about the high rollers.
Where's this hot takes? Where's this hot takes?
It's called S8 Hot Takes. It's in the Google Drive.
Okay.
Whoever submitted it. Whoever submitted it didn't submit their username. That's crazy though. Like it obviously because I can't find here it is. SSBL season 8 predictions. I found it.
Yeah. So only 3 responses, but someone saying that both season 7 Super Series participants will miss the playoff. That is nuts.
Can I say something that's even funnier than Nick saying that Angels win the Epic?
Yeah, go for it.
Shag saying that the Moonshots win the heroic.
Oh gosh.
And they have the worst season in the history of the no one has ever lost as much as the Moonshots. Like they went 1-15. But all of these, aside from Shag, all of these heroic guesses are still up for grabs. May had high rollers for the Epic. Wigan and Shag had high. Oh man, Shag really got it wrong. Um, Lasers had Bombers. Nick
go.
had Angels.
Here you go. Who was most likely to go 0-16 this season?
Who put May put the Stingers?
May put the Stingers, and now
May,
he gets to
you
face
put
him.
the Stingers?
Wow. So if we're thinking about it, out of all of these, who had it was the Angels that was the closest out of the people who, right? Or
well, yeah, because no one put moonshots.
right.
Which if we could turn back time, Sparrows were actually 3-13. So Puppet and Lasers had it better.
Who is most likely to go 16-0? Liberty. Let me. Okay, that
Wigan.
one sticks.
Sticks, yeah.
Wigan would have never said that. That sticks though.
Wigan would never say that.
Who is most likely?
Oh,
to win
all
their
right.
second Super
Listen.
Series?
It is only fair. It is only fair for me to point out, and we're fine riffing on this, by the way, because we don't have that much to discuss this podcast.
Right.
Here is who I had in the heroic: Dragons, Gauchos, Lumberjacks, Retrievers. 2 issues here. 1, I had the Vikings. 1, I had the Moonshots.
I also had the Moonshots.
For the epic, I had Ball Players, Bombers, High Rollers, Skulls of Rock, Unicorns, Wildcats. So I was only off. I thought Skulls of Rock would get in. It was the Serpents. I thought High Rollers would get in. It was the Stingers. Wow, I didn't have the Stingers going in.
Yeah, I didn't either. I think, the exact same that you did. No, you had the Wildcats in yours. I had Ball Players, Bombers, High Rollers, Serpents, Skulls, Unicorns. That was mine.
And then
wow.
the last sort of thing here. So let's see.
Well,
I had Gauchos, Unicorns. I have Unicorns winning it all. I thought Walkers would go 0-16. Thought Unicorns would go 16-0, which they went 12-4. Ball Players went 13-3, so they had the best record. Who is most overrated? Know who I had? The Retrievers.
Wow.
That's gonna come back to bite me if I lose this divisional round. Who was the most underrated? I had Skulls.
Who's the best of the new team? You have the Liberty.
Which, hey, you know what? Liberty 4-12, Mythic 4-12, Sparrows 3-13, Express 6-10. I wasn't that far off. Liberty may be bad, but they're not bad. Yeah. Bombers most likely to win their second Super Series. That's obviously Lumberjacks right now.
So there's one person. Puppet just put 2 teams making the heroic,
which
playoffs.
is a cop out.
Only 2 submissions did not have the Moonshots. May and then Eric at COS. Wow, I did not expect that. This was a random find because I was just very curious as to who.
I'm gonna dive into this even more after the podcast.
Yeah,
this is crazy.
Yeah, let's do that. But we'll go and talk about this next matchup though. The Stingers and Ball Players. Now that we have May picking the Stingers, who was it to go 0-16?
Yep.
So
that's a little bit of as much as me saying the Retrievers are overrated. Him having them being the most likely to go 0-16 might come back to bite him here.
And you also had the most overrated team as a Retriever, so we'll see what happens in these next games. Which it's today. That's the exciting part about it, and it's at 6 p.m. Central Time. That's what's great. But it's early. Is what I'm saying. It's early. I like the early games. Anyways, we Stingers Ball Players, man. This one, I don't really like. This one is such. I think this one might be the hardest to kind of truly choose who's gonna, because it depends. Like the Ball Players have they're the best record in the SSBL this season with 13-3. But at the same time, there were so many times where we questioned the Ball Players' moves. We questioned the Thunder move. We questioned. Well, who's it? Matthias Black playing shortstop or whatever.
Dude, this is an organization that is always selling its future for the present, and it always somehow still has more future to sell. the way that May does, like it, we're always saying the ball players got to win it all. I remember in season 4, us saying, man, the ball players better win it all this season because they have shipped off everything. And we say that every single season, and every single season, the ball players are still here.
Yep.
When will we learn? When will we learn that our actions have consequences?
Right. I mean, if we look at this matchup, you have, if you look at the regular season, you have 95 runs for and 54 against for the ball players. So you have a plus 41 run differential, scoring 95 runs. It's pretty solid. You got the Stingers on the other side with the plus 22, scoring 98 runs. So these are two teams that know how to put up some runs, and they also have some solid pitching. It really depends on, who's the number, I guess, 1, 2, and who are the matchups really, I guess is what I'm getting at for these.
According to the latest that we have, ball players have Pacifica, then Leonard Northwest, then Norrie. Stingers have Delvecchio, Ryan, Noodle Arm, Norms.
I thought
ball players?
I thought Leonard's was number 4. So I asked.
Oh yeah, he did make that move. So it's Pacifica, Blaze, Norrie. Then I just now noticed this.
No, you're good. So
that's good to know.
So then I mean, if you think of it, Pacifica versus who's the number 1 for the Stingers?
If the Stingers keep the same that they had, it is going to be Delvecchio, Ryan, Noodle Arm. So it'll be Pacifica Northwest, Delvecchio. It'll be Ryan, Blaze. It'll be Noodle Arm, Norrie. This is going to be a tough series.
This is
going to be a tough series.
If this goes 3, I give the edge to the Stingers.
When they met up this season, ball players lost 0-2 in the first one. They won 9-1 in the second one. The ball players' 3 losses this season were to the Skulls of Rock 0-1, the Stingers 0-2, the Wildcats 1-6. If the ball players score at least 2 runs, they win the game.
Yeah.
How's that for a crazy stat?
That's crazy.
Just don't score 1. Just don't score 1. Score at least 2, and the ball players have yet to lose a game.
Wow.
When they score.
They're undefeated when scoring more than 2.
They are undefeated when scoring more than 2 runs.
Wow. Okay, I'll keep that in mind when I.
I'm sorry. They're undefeated when they score more than 1 run. Technically, that's the way that math works.
That is true. It's true. Undefeated when they score. Wait, because wow.
That's the way, because it's greater than. Yeah. It's the alligator. Yeah. The alligator eats the. The alligator eats the 0. Mm-hmm. Nope, the alligator eats X. X alligator 1. Yeah. That's the way the math works.
Yep. All right. Back to out of the classroom and back to the podcast. We
A-.
We I think if it goes 3, then I give the edge to the Stingers. I think that's what we're looking at.
It also, if we go back to how long ago did I have it? The number of seeds that have won in each one. I'll have to find it. But yeah, I sort of agree where this is a really, really tough matchup to decide, because these are 2 teams that, like, at one point we thought the Stingers were going to win the entire one.
Right.
So
like I said, I think if it goes 3, I'm going to give the edge to the Stingers. But if the ball players are going to win, they got to win it in 2. They can't go 3. I think a GG Norrie versus was it Noodle Arm in the game 3.
Yeah.
I give Noodle Arm the edge there against Norrie, and that's nothing to knock on Norrie. I just think Noodle Arm. I think Noodle Arm's got the advantage there, in my opinion. Moving on to the Heroic, which this is where I think the matchups really are pretty crazy, because your matchup, we'll start with yours. Yours, in my opinion, is like, I mean, you destroyed the Retrievers in the regular season, right? That's what
No, they beat us.
That's
what I was saying. The Retrievers and the Ojaps have both beaten the Dragons.
So if that's the case, then this matchup might also go 3. but it depends. It's not even depends on what Dragons team shows up. It depends all on the Retrievers. Which Retrievers team are we gonna get? We're gonna get this team that they have been the past, I guess you can say 3 or 4 games, where they end up winning the division, then sweeping their wild card round, or are we gonna? Because the thing is the Dragons put up runs. You have 124 runs scored in season 8. Where
and to be fair, that's always the way we kind of been. We kind of put up a lot of runs in certain games. We tend to just really we get a lot of frustration out, and plus the poor team that always ends up being that team that we absolutely done. This season it was the Knights. We beat the Knights 23-0 this season. We had just lost 2 games, 2-4 to the Stingers, 5-8 to the Retrievers, and we weren't very happy.
Yeah, I mean, I think if your offense shows up, Retrievers can't. They don't have, in my opinion, enough to battle back. I mean, their big wins are big wins, but against, I mean, you lost by 3. I don't necessarily call that a big win from a run differential perspective. If you look at their wins, they win by 10 against the Knights. They win by 1 against the Overdrafts, and that was 3 straight times they win by 1, if you include the wild card round. Win by 10 against the Knights, win by 3 against you, win by 8 against the Overdrafts, win by 1 against the Moonshots, win by 4 Wrong Fielders, 3 Overdrafts, 1 Liberty, 1 Express, and then plus 10 Moonshots. I think if the Dragons put up, if
Will Freishak,
yeah, right, if Will Freishak and co put up 5 runs, this game's over. This game's out of reach. I'm gonna go ahead and kind of, this is just my guess here. This is not statistics here. I just don't think the Retrievers have it in them. They don't have the dog enough to get 6 runs.
The Dragons are undefeated when scoring 6 or more runs. So they need to score 6, and then they'll win.
I just don't think the Retrievers can score 6. I don't think they can score 6. Yes, they scored 8 against you the first time, but I just don't think they're going to do it again.
There is a little bit of fate coming in here, which is that for the Dragons, they are the number 2 seed. Mm-hmm. The last number 2 seed to win a Super Series was the last heroic team to win a Super Series. It was the season 4 Lumberjacks. Okay. Even bigger history on the line, though, for the Retrievers, as they are the only remaining 3 seed left in the postseason. No 3 seed has ever won a Super Series.
Wow. Okay. Well, there you have it. Let's see what history says during this matchup. But I'm kind of going and giving the edge to you, and I'm going to go and say it's a 2-0 sweep. We'll be done. We'll be done with a 2-0 sweep. That's my prediction.
Listen, I'll take that energy, and there's no way in hell I'm making a prediction about this.
No, you're fine. You're Kirk Herbstreit today.
I'm Kirk Herbstreit. The keys to the game.
So, moving on to the final matchup, and probably the most anticipated matchup in this entire round. And as I said in the Discord, this is probably the most stacked divisional round we've had in history. And really, this game is it. Like I said, Boston Red Sox versus Yankees. That's what we're getting in this matchup. It's going to be an absolute bloodbath of a series. But it comes down to, will that offense of the Gauchos actually show up like they should, or will they shut down like they did at the end of the season?
I think it's been too long of a drought for this Gauchos team to not wake up. Like, this is a Gauchos, listen, it's a weird freaking nature that they were 10-3, the tweet went out, and then they lost 4 straight and didn't even win the division.
Yeah.
And actually, they lost 5 straight when you consider the also that first. So they started the season. So right now at the season, they are 12-8. And before that 5-loss streak, they were 12-3.
Mm-hmm.
Wait, nope, that's not the way this works. That's not the way this works. They were 10-3. They were 10-3 before that loss. But when you subtract that streak out, they're a 12-3 team that had some bad news bears happen to them.
Yeah.
I think that this is the Gauchos path to redemption. Like I have Gauchos unicorns. I didn't have it in the challenge, which I clearly should have. If I'm going off my season 8 predictions, I have Gauchos unicorns in the final according to my season 8 predictions.
Yeah,
and I think that this is the path for them. I don't think whoever wins the Retrievers Dragons can put up a fight in a 5-game series against either one of these two teams.
Yeah.
But especially if it's the Gauchos, because there is too much on the line for this Gauchos team for them to not win this series.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, this is like a Heroic Conference Finals matchup in the divisional round. Like, and I think, like you said, whoever wins this is going to the Super Series. I'm gonna go ahead and say it. Because I just don't think that either of the Retrievers or the Dragons have what it takes to, like you said, beat either of these teams in a best-of-5 series. And so whoever wins this, I might jinx it right here on episode 13. Go ahead and timestamp it, put it wherever it needs. Whoever wins this is going to the Super Series. So if the Retrievers, it is because now that I say that, the Dragons and Retrievers, one of them are going to make the Super Series.
Listen, I'll take the bad vibes. I'll take the bad vibes against you that benefit me. The Gauchos, if they win, it'll be their second straight Heroic Conference Finals, as well. The Lumberjacks have not made a Heroic Conference Final since season 5.
Yep, and
interestingly enough,
me personally as commish of the league and as the
commissioner,
as the back in my day
in the year
as the historian, more so, I want the Lumberjacks to win this because I want now that the Bombers are out, I want the Lumberjacks to win the whole thing because I want to finally get that team that has 2 Super Series wins under their belt. I want that so freaking bad. I've wanted it for seasons upon seasons.
This is the bad place. This is the bad place.
I just, there are 7 banners and there's 7 different teams. I need a team to rise up with a second banner.
Are you the first ever commissioner of a league to not want parity? I think you're the first commissioner in the history of history to not want parity.
Like I want someone to win their second Super Series. I mean, if we're looking at the teams, which you might have to search it into your because if I touch Discord on my computer, then you freeze. So and you go away. So hold on.
All right, what am I searching?
Search in SSBL chat and search. Let's see. Just type in shit. So I'm trying to figure out which teams had players with Super Series on it, Super Series winners on it. And I had a list of all the teams.
Well, you don't post that often, so if I just search
you should be able to
from
find
you,
it. You should be able to find it. And I want to say it might have had emotes in it, but I'm very curious now that we are here in the divisional round. How many of those teams are left? So Wildcats have like French Tater or some random. Some Wildcats have like one person on their bench that got one in season 4, I believe. Lumberjacks, of course, you have nobody. The Retrievers, I think, have one person. Maybe that's where French Tater is. I think it would.
So you have this is for divisional round.
See if I can just do this on my phone as well.
This is great content for the podcast.
This is great content.
This is thrilling content for the podcast.
Divisional round. Let's see.
Did you post it in divisional round?
No. This was well before the postseason started.
This is history erasure. You said ball players, singers, and Dragons are looking for their first conference finals appearance. Dragons made a Heroic Conference Finals back in season 2.
Wait,
this is erasure. This is erasure. This is erasure of my history. You said the Dragons have never made a conference final. They made the Heroic Conference Final in season 2. Back in your day, the Dragons made the conference finals.
I forget that they did that. Anyways, look. Okay, here we are. So teams who have not been officially eliminated, these would produce at least one player with their second ring. So
Oh, this is okay. That's why I didn't
so
find it.
ball players are still alive. Lumberjacks still alive, retrievers still alive, and wildcats. So wildcats, retrievers, lumberjacks, and ball players. Any other team that makes the Super Series and wins that thing, they're fresh, a fresh 21. Get their first rings, a fresh 21. That's I mean, who the thing is who's gonna be the next Daquan Smith? That's the question.
I don't know if we can have a Daquan. I think in order to get a Daquan Smith, it's gonna have to come from ball players, lumberjacks.
He's also the only player to win back to back.
Yeah. Yeah, and nobody. I don't think the High
believe.
Rollers traded anybody.
Yeah.
There's no Pat Maroon in our league right now.
Yeah, he won back to back. He won season 3 with the Serpents. He won season 4 with the Lumberjacks.
Yeah.
That's crazy. And he won season 1. So, Daquan Smith for first ballot Hall of Fame.
This is just like the most tense I think that the postseason gets in terms of like it's a best of 3 series. Anything can happen.
Yeah.
I feel like once we get into the conference finals, you're in the 5-game series, you're able to separate the wheat from the chaff a little bit. And ever since we moved the Super Series to 7 games, I think we've had phenomenal Super Series. I mean, the Bombers Knights going to 7, the I forget how long the High Rollers went in theirs, but
I think it was 6.
Yeah.
I think it was
like
5 or 6.
Yeah, so it's just this is the most, especially like for me as like Dragons manager, is like I hope to win at least 1 game. 2, I would really like to make a conference final for the first time in my managerial history, and for the first time since season 2.
Yeah.
Will not have my franchise's history erased, especially by a non-parody loving commissioner.
Hey. Okay, it was season 7 it did go 6. High Rollers won 4-2. Which, interesting note, that was 2 4 seeds facing off against each other. Interesting note. Are any 4 seeds?
Which Gauchos are a 4 seed, Stingers are a 4 seed.
Not saying anything.
Don't do that. Don't do that like you did something.
Knights Bombers was a 3 and 5. I mean, the Skulls, they're the only 1 seed to win the whole thing.
Ever win.
Season 5 we have
No, be bonkers as if the Retrievers were the 3 seed back in season 5.
So
were they
a 1 and 4? Which one?
Season 5.
Retrievers were a 4 seed.
Okay, because they're a 3 seed now.
So here's the thing: is that's another 4 seed in the heroic. We're keeping count here.
The way that Christians feel about the number 6 is the way you feel about 4.
All right, so yeah, not in season 4. Season 4 was a 2 and a 3, with 2 being Lumberjacks, 3 being Bombers. The 4 seed that season was the Walkers, who took the Moonshots to distance in 3 games and
have never been back since.
Ever since then, they have not. They've been sent to the moon. Let's see, season 3. We're about to get to the end of the conferences here. Season 3, we had the number 1 seed Moonshots and the number 5 seed Serpents. And then finally, in the last of the conferences, when the conferences were first created, we had the Knights of 4 seed and the Serpents a 2 seed. So the heroic produces 4 seeds, in which technically, if you like, the wrong fielders were a 4 seed in season 1, if I'm not mistaken. I believe they were. I remember it was 4 or 5.
That gets thrown out the window when the Lumberjacks have won it as a 2 seed.
Yeah, I'm just saying 4 seeds have a history of making the Super Series over there.
That's how you know we're deep into the podcast, is when we're going in through the numbers again. Which one does the alligator bite for this one?
Which, by the way, this, as this goes up, this will also go up early. Well, with this being now at 54 minutes,
Jeez, this is supposed to be a quick one.
right? We will put this up just an hour before. So as this comes to a close, make sure you go over to twitch.tv/official SSBL, where
Already live.
FISAC is already live. Countdown is ready to go. And what's game number one? Is it game number one, Gauchos?
Game number 1 is, here is your schedule. Gauchos at Lumberjacks, Stingers at Ball Players, Retrievers at Dragons, Wildcats at Unicorns.
So obviously we're thanks to Turtle Beach for this season and the giveaways. Giveaways are done as of right now. I'm going to see if I can get something for the
Stop
Super
saying
Series.
here. Stop putting here in chat.
You could put here in chat for the memes if all you want to. That's totally fine. But shout out to Turtle Beach. It's still the Turtle Beach game of the night. We're still going to refer to it as that, but we were only given X amount of headsets to give away, and we have completed that. So
I love when we have X number.
Right. So we well, X and the alligator. So shout out to Turtle Beach for assisting. We're gonna see if, like I said, I'm gonna see if I can get something for the Super Series to give away there to whoever is actually. We'll give it away live on stream for that one. But what are you doing?
This podcast is fully
mush.
left the rails.
Your brain is mush. All right, so that's gonna do it for us here. Postseason is in full swing, and as I said, make sure you go over to twitch.tv/official SSBL, where you'll see FISAC, that guy, live on stream. So my name is Jay Watt, alongside FISAC. See you next time.
Keep on rigging, everybody.
Oh my god, I gotta run.